Good morning. I am Kevin Price. Delighted to be with you. Going to spend some time talking to you about you and your business. And yes, my home is recovering from the second 500-year flood in a year. I think there's a sign on my roof that says, kick me. It's unbelievable. But anyway, I am recovering. Glad to be back in the studios, though. Just at a great time because I get to chat with my friend Chris Corso with the Corso Law Group. That's CorsoLawGroup.com. Regular contributor on The Price of Business. Great advocate for civil liberties. And I always love our conversations. I think they're so timely. And as our topic today is going to show, Chris, more and more timely every single day because our government is simply out of control in terms of what it believes it can and cannot do.
Taking things away from us every day. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's great and great to have you. So kind of go ahead and set the stage for our topic today.
Well, we're talking about what they're calling cell site data. Okay, and what this is cell phone records and things like that to be able to track down potential suspects of different crimes. And in this situation, there's a case in Cincinnati where a Cincinnati-based court of appeals basically said that, the right to privacy on information transmitted from a cell phone is not protected under the Fourth Amendment. And that's obviously being taken up a little further now. And then you have two individuals that were found guilty of armed robberies, and the information that was received was through this cell site data that they collected off the cell phone. And so that's the attorneys right now are looking to take that up again.
So what level of court was the most recent decision?
Well, this came down from the Sixth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and now what they're going to try to do is get that court, to look at it again, and then if they have to go further, they go to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Right, which right now can't make a decision because half of these 8 jurists will choose one, and
exactly.
so it's stuck. Which means it would probably end up, the last decision would be the last decision.
Probably. I mean, that's what I think, and I don't see them overruling themselves at this point. But I mean, but that's always a fun thing to try to do in federal court.
Depends on how chemically balanced they were on that day.
Right. Tom Brady's feeling that today too.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly. So to me, this is interesting. I mean, to me, this seems like. That the government's capacity for overreach is just becoming so far-reaching. I can't even imagine it being able to do something like this just a few years ago.
They're actually, to me, they are reaching because when you liken a cell phone to a landline now. Saying, at your home, nobody has a landline at their house anymore. Everybody has a cell phone. So now they're saying, well, this is just like a landline where. If you call out, the phone company has your records of the phone calls. Therefore, it's public now.
Right.
My argument to that is, hey, look, we have cell phones. They're pass protected for everything. Not everybody has access to that. See, I didn't see that in the opinion at all, where it discusses what's accessible to the public versus if you and I wanted to go get somebody else's cell phone records. Can you imagine how many hoops we have to jump through to get that? And therefore, that's protected for a reason. So it's not the same as mailing. They're liking it to mailing addresses and IP addresses.
Which becomes public knowledge the minute it goes into a trash can.
Right. Exactly.
This isn't like that.
No, not like that at all. Who's taking their phone records and just throwing them in the can?
Yeah.
So that's their rationale for this. But I certainly don't agree with that. I think that it should be taken up, and I think this is something that Supreme Court should deal with. But again, as we talked about, that's just probably not going to happen.
Not going to. Well, and they might, but it will be a 4-4 decision.
Exactly.
That's frustrating. I don't think there's any doubt, in my opinion, where Scalia would have fell on this.
Oh yeah. And again, it's just every single day you see this, and you and I have spoken about this too, about how they track down suspects. This isn't the first time we're talking about cell phones, and now you're dealing with the records from it, the transmissions. Now, before you were just dealing with location, So again, it's just something that every day there seems to be more and more coming up that they want to take some of our privacy. And this really had to do with the search warrant or lack of. So we're saying, hey, look, you need to, as a defense attorney, saying, look, you have to get a search warrant to be able to get this. You can have it. You just got to go through the proper channels. And they say, no, we don't have to do that. And again, if this is my case, I say, hey, look, I need this thrown out. This is not. You should not be able to use this in a trial.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, how hard is it to get a search warrant anyway?
In these days, not hard at all.
Not hard at all.
Usually they take the DWIs and they just get them. They get them on call at 3 a.m. So
unbelievable. So the next thing you know, it's going to be autoresponder.
Right, exactly.
There'll be an exclusive email for judges, and if you want your search warrant, just hit this email and I'll send you one back via email.
Right, but that'll be protected.
That'll be protected.
You won't be able to get the info from that to be able to use it in court because they'll ruin their own favor.
And we laugh, but for the listener out there, that means we're evolving into a dystopia right here before our very eyes.
I think so.
It's becoming increasingly sci-fi in our country, and that's what I like about you. I think you take the entire Bill of Rights. Even stuff you may not be particularly fond of, but you know what? That's the way it was set up, and it was set up to protect all of our freedoms. I admit there's some Bill of Rights I like more than others, but the older I get, we better protect all of them, or all of them are vulnerable. They're all interconnected and support one another. And frankly, those ones where I was more casual about as a younger guy, throw them jerks in jail. Those Fourth and Fifth Amendments, they're becoming pretty. I'm becoming pretty fond of those things.
Yeah, I mean, when you're young, you're ignorant to things. I mean, you just have to learn over time. But everything. I mean, we live in if we're going to preach this, you have to be able to stand up and say, hey, I need to stand up with someone across from me that it's saying something that makes my blood boil, okay? But I have to accept the fact that they're able to do that, and they're able to talk that in a way and say those things and use the protection that we've been given. But
so, the Supremes have had, statements on this before. Of course, it was a different Supreme Court than we have today, just because of Scalia's passing. But, what is the record of the court on that anyway?
Typically they're in favor of privacy. But there was a case in Maryland that came down that they heard that talked about the landline versus cell phones, and they came down and said that the Fourth Amendment doesn't protect that. So that's some of they used that. Judge Kethridge used that in Cincinnati to promote or bolster his ruling on this, which I think is flawed across the board. But
so how is it different from what the court ruled on before? You're saying it's not, it's apples and oranges is what it sounds like you're saying.
Well, they're saying that when a person dials a number on your landline, you might as well be a rotary phone at this point. They're releasing information that phone companies have at this point, and the public can get access to. So you don't need a search warrant for it. This is all surrounding whether you should get a warrant or not. So they're saying, well, we don't need a search warrant because once you dial that number, once you put that call out there, that it's out there for the world to see through phone companies. Except with a cell phone, it's a little different. You're in these. They're all private companies, but it's protected so well. We're not able to get to the general public can't get to your cell phone records, and when that can't happen, you better get a warrant, in my opinion.
Yeah,
but this says no, which is absurd.
It's crazy. So how can this, it sounds like there's going to, the only way this can be addressed is through legislation. But if you address it through legislation, you're saying that the court had it right in the first place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In a way, it's like saying, okay, the court had a right to rule the way that it ruled. And that to me is a dangerous precedent in other cases.
Yeah, I mean, and, I haven't been able to read the dissent yet on this, the other side coming down on this, but It is a dangerous precedent because we're looking for the cases to make the law at this point, But if we're going to keep getting rulings like this, the legislators have a tough time when you have cases coming down like this all the time. Yep. Because you got people standing up against that constantly. So it's an uphill battle at this point, which it shouldn't be.
No, it shouldn't be. It seems like liberty should be more fundamental than this.
I agree.
And wow. I just, and people simply don't care. That's the part that bothers me most. Until they get mugged,
Right.
they're not going to care. Until they get treated in a way like, how is this lined up with rule of law the way I was handled? Until that happens, well, the vast majority of us are never going to be in that lot any more than the vast majority of Russians dealt with the KGB.
Right. It reminds you close your eyes and you get into time warp here. But I'll tell you because I think most people feel like, oh, they can see our records anyway.
Right.
They probably can. Oh, let's just accept that. Maybe people don't realize this is not the same. This is not the same as just dialing a number out from a landline. It's not. It's not going across the waves that way. So, yeah, BP, and you're right. Until people stand up and realize, hey, look, this is a problem. This is something that's happening to us every day. Go to the airport, and that'll scare you to no end.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, you wonder what country you're in at that point.
I travel quite a bit. I'm thinking about getting, the pre-vetting. Have you done that? Because you travel more than I do.
Yeah, no, I haven't yet. You should have a private plane, though.
Oh, right. Yeah, well, I've been waiting for you to make a down payment on that private plane. But, Chris, before we wrap it up, talk a little bit about your practice. Let people know the kind of people that you're taking care of.
We're a criminal practice. We started off in Arizona, which we are still, and we're down in Houston. We're excited to be here. Basically, we represent clients from DWI all the way up into the felony level. And my firm takes an approach of, you represent the person, not the client, which is a very, very different thing. Mm-hmm. Because a person has a lot of things that come along with them, family, themselves, education, and so on. And so that's the kind of approach we take, and it's been successful so far here.
Well, I love those values. Yeah. I think they're so important. And it's the CorsoLawGroup.com. CorsoLawGroup.com. Good seeing you, buddy.
You too, Kevin. Thanks.
When we come back, we're going to have much more for you. Do want to remind you, best content here does show up over there at USDataReview.com. While they're like it on Facebook, follow it on Twitter.
When I was younger, so much younger than today, I never needed